Okay, today we're going to make mushrooms casino, and it's going to involve about, let's say 12 to 14 mushrooms. So we have a white button mushroom. I use about a wedge of lime and some bell pepper, as well as some shallot, or you can use a regular onion. We have a jalapeno, we have some parsley. You're going to use about 1 or 2 cloves of garlic, and then we're going to have some eggplant, and if you'd like, you could add some white wine for flavor and some spices that consist of sea salt and pepper, as well as some paprika. And to keep it healthy, we're going to add some quinoa, and then we're going to have clams, which are going to be chopped clams that come in a can. And we have some yogurt, and the rest is optional to make it a little more flavorful but less healthy. We have some panko, and then we have some spinach artichoke dip. And also we have some prosciutto. So those are the ingredients that we're going to be using, and let's go into it. Alright, once you have your prep area set up, you'll want to take off the stems off the mushroom. Kind of like that, and basically we're going to fill them up with some stuffing shortly, but just take out the stems, and we're going to actually use the stems as part of the dish. So we're just going to kind of finely chop the stems into little tiny diced pieces, and we're going to keep those for the dish. Okay, next up we have the bell pepper. We're just going to take out the center part, and once again you're going to use probably about a quarter to a half of the bell pepper, and you're going to finely dice them into little pieces, and once again we're going to add that into the dish. Next on the chopping block is eggplant. This beautiful graffiti eggplant was grown right here in Wailuku by Ann Emsley. I should also mention that the bell pepper just prior to this was also grown here in Wailuku. I think it's always important to use fresh and locally sourced ingredients. So now you want to peel the eggplant, and then you're going to chop it up into small, tiny, diced cubes. I'm actually going to take the eggplant and put it on a separate plate because it will take a little longer to cook than some of the other ingredients. And next up is going to be curly parsley. You kind of want to cut it fairly coarse, and then once again we're going to put it on a separate plate because we're going to use that in a couple minutes from now. Alright, now it's time for the shallot, or you can use an onion, and you want to dice it or chop it very fine, or as fine as you can, just to kind of even out the flavor when you mix this into the stuffing mixture. Then I'm going to take the onion and put it on the same plate as the eggplant. Next up is the garlic. You'll want to use probably 1 large clove or 2 small cloves for this dish. You'll want to chop it finely, as small as possible, once again, just to get the flavors to go throughout the dish. And what I like to do is get a little pinch of sea salt and put it on top, and then take a knife or a spoon and just kind of release the flavors a bit. Adds a little more flavor to the garlic. Okay, now's the time you want to start some water boiling for the quinoa. And while that's boiling, you can take the prosciutto, and we're going to cut that into small cubes and set it aside as we use it later when we start cooking. Okay, now we'll take a little break here, check out the technological advances in tripod development. We have some tape, some olive oil, tongs, and a phone to capture this recipe here for you. Alright, now that the water's boiling, you can add the quinoa, and basically the ratio would be about 2 parts water to 1 part quinoa, similar to rice. And you can kind of take the heat down a little bit, but you still want a slow rolling boil until all the water is absorbed. Once the quinoa is finished, you can set it aside and get a pan and coat it nicely with some olive oil. Make sure that the heat is high enough because you do want to get the oil to a nice temperature so you can caramelize the onions and the garlic. So as soon as you put them in, you should be able to hear a sizzle. And you kind of want to coat them, let them caramelize a bit, and then add the garlic, and then we can add the eggplant. At this point, you'll want to kind of coat all the ingredients in that oil, and you'll notice that the eggplant soaks up the olive oil fairly quickly. So if you need, don't be afraid to get some more olive oil and make sure you put in there so everything cooks evenly. Okay, next we can add the jalapeno, which I chopped earlier, and then the prosciutto, and we can mix those around. And now we can also add the bell peppers and the mushroom stems and mix those around real good, get those cooking. Next up, we can add some spices, a couple pinches of salt, and a nice pinch of pepper. And I love using paprika. It adds a wonderful color, so I'm just going to put some paprika in. Now we're ready for adding the clams. Make sure that you keep some of the clam juice so it also adds the flavor as we cook. And also we're going to add some quinoa. And at this point, you can choose or choose not to add panko. It will add a little better flavor and consistency, but it is not necessary if you want to keep this on the healthier side. Once you've cooked this mixture for several minutes, it's nice to grab a little bit of a white wine. It helps to add flavor and deglazes the bottom of the pan and gets those flavors mixed in. Once that's completed, we can take that mixture and put it into a bowl. Next we'll take the parsley, add that to the ingredients, and some of the next ingredients are optional. They will improve some of the consistency and flavor, but if you want to keep it healthier, you don't have to add. We have Greek yogurt here. You can use sour cream or even some goat's cheese. We also have some spinach artichoke dip, which will enhance the flavor, but once again, does not have to be added if you want to keep this on the healthier side. So you mix those around, and then we're going to get ready to stuff the mushrooms. Okay, I take a tinfoil lined tray, and I'll take the mushroom caps. And the mixture is basically like a nice paste, so it stays on fairly easily. You can shape it fairly easily. So just put a nice heaping teaspoon on and put that down. And save some prosciutto, and make sure you top each mushroom with prosciutto. Now there's something I found out that some of these mushrooms were kind of rolling over. So if you actually just cut the top edge off, it makes a nice flat surface, and you can once again stuff the mushroom and it should stay nice and put. And don't forget to put a little piece of prosciutto over the top for when this cooks down. And if you'd like to keep it vegetarian, you can remove the prosciutto from the entire recipe. And there, all the hard work is done. Now we'll just preset the oven. You'll probably want to put it on broil at about 450 degrees, and it'll probably take maybe about 7 or 8 minutes to finish, but you'll have to check it by eye, and depending on how high it is to the top of the broiler, you basically want to get them to get nice and crispy on top, and that would be indicated by the prosciutto when it starts to turn a nice golden color. And there you have it, Mushrooms Casino. And here's how they'll look when they're completed. Now the next step is to see what they taste like. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and for now I'm going to have a little bit myself, and I'll see you next time. Bon appetit!